So this is my thought reaction video to the Manny Pacquiao Jeff Horn fight that just happened yesterday. It's now Sunday, and a little bit about the actual production itself on ESPN. Before we get started, as always, I may or may not be an expert, but I am a longtime fan with an informed and knowledgeable opinion. First of all, anytime we have boxing with marquee names like Manny Pacquiao, for example, whether it's ESPN, CBS, NBC, whether it's a Top Rank promoted card, a PBC promoted card, or any other promoter, and it's on free or at least not pay cable or pay-per-view television, that's a very good thing for boxing, in my opinion. The broadcast team at the fight in Australia was Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas, and Timothy Bradley. I find it interesting that, because Atlas is Bradley's trainer right now, at least these last two fights, and that dynamic where Bradley kept calling Teddy as coach when they're in their commentary. And in the studio they had, I want to say, Brian Kinney and Stephen A. Smith. I would have swapped out either Kinney or Smith for Max Kellerman, but he may be obligated contractually only to do boxing for HBO. I don't know. But I think having the First Take crew as the commentators in the studio would have been just fine, or taking out Stephen A. Smith for Max Kellerman would have been fine too. I thought the overall show was actually pretty good. I really do. So let's jump into the main event, because that's why you're most likely here. So I said make the rest of the video in my studio. And if it's shaky, I apologize. I'm still needing to get a tripod for my camera. So boxing is a unique sport. I think most fighting sports are unique compared to other sports in that there are no set rules for scoring. Like, for example, in football, you cross the end zone with the ball, you get 6 points, a point for the extra point conversion or 2 points for 2-point conversion. Basketball, you put the ball to the hoop, you get, depending on the situation, 1 point for a free throw, 2 points for a regular field goal, 3 points for, of course, a three-pointer. So boxing does not have that. You have three judges who are scoring a fight based on their subjective opinion of who's in control. Now there are things like effective aggression, harder punches, more accurate punches, etc. that influence that subjective opinion, but they're guidelines. They're not rules. Another thing that can affect the judge's opinion is work rate and just aggression. So if you can outwork your opponent and move forward on him, even if you're not landing much punches, even if you're not pressuring your opponent, you can make the argument that you won that round, even if in most people's eyes you maybe didn't. And that's what happened last night. Jeff Horn made the argument by going forward and throwing punches. It's not unlike the Canelo Lara fight. I would say, watching that fight, or watching last night's fight, Manny Pacquiao is a better boxer than Jeff Horn. I would say watching the Lara-Canelo fight, Lara is a better boxer than Canelo Alvarez. But in both cases, Horn and Alvarez were able to outwork their opponent. They were able to come forward on their opponent and make a counter argument that they won rounds. Now, do I agree with those arguments? Not really.
but they made the argument, and that's why they won those fights. That's why Jeff Horn won last night, because he was able to make the argument, make the counter argument that he won the round. He was able to make it so Manny Pacquiao's argument for winning the rounds was not clear cut. Now, I personally thought Manny Pacquiao probably won the fight. I didn't keep a running scorecard. To tell you the truth, but I can see rounds where, yeah, I think Pacquiao won, but I see the argument from Horn. Horn was taking the fight to Manny Pacquiao. Horn was out throwing Manny Pacquiao, and sometimes that's all that matters. Like I said, judges score in subjective opinion based on what they see and hear. And yes, a crowd can influence them. They do not have instant replay. They do not have punch stat. So if you're going to say to me, well, punch stat shows that Manny Pacquiao landed so much percent and Jeff Horn only so much percent, that's all well and good. But keep in mind that punch stat is just someone clicking a button when they think a punch lands or didn't land. And I do believe punch stat is skewed a lot. I think they're more likely to say yes, a punch landed if it's thrown by a better known fighter than a less known fighter. I do think numbers for Pacquiao and Mayweather, for example, by punch stat are very skewed in their entire careers. It's human nature to say, oh, that is great, I'm going to assume that he either landed that punch or avoided that punch. So I'm going off on more of a tangent here. Anyways, wasn't a robbery. It was a controversial decision, but not a robbery. I would have pitched the fight for Pacquiao, but he didn't do enough in the rounds to convincingly say he won those rounds. He allowed Jeff Horn to make the counter argument for winning rounds also. And would have Horn won a million other times? Probably not. Is Horn the new best welterweight in the world? No. But let me ask this question. If you think the fight was a robbery, would you still favor Manny Pacquiao over the other top welterweights in the division? Keith Thurman, Earl Spence, Kell Brook, Lamont Peterson, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, and so forth. I personally would not at this point. So that's my take on everything. If you're still with me, I thank you so much for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.